outdoorsman. If you want to help out, you can also find us on Patreon. Come and visit us at our website at www.archeryoutdoorsman.com. Enjoy the show. In this episode, I'm talking to a good buddy of mine, Alex Lypchanskiy. We talk about how if you want to achieve something, you absolutely can. He came from Ukraine, had a really humble life, and was able to establish his own trucking company, making over 6 figures a year now. So it's a great conversation, great motivational thing. We get off on a lot of different trails, but it's all in great conversation. So I hope you enjoy.
He was about the same size as the one that I had killed the year before. Mm-hmm. Or I'm sorry, about the same size as the one I killed this year, body-wise. But the one I killed this year had smaller antlers. Mm-hmm. But I'm not. Of course, everybody would love to kill like a huge bull or whatever, but
how much time did it take you to chase it down?
That one?
Yeah.
I don't know how many miles I walked for that one, but I know I killed it. Like I said, I killed it with a bow. I was 4.25 miles in when I killed it. From where he was to where my truck was, 4.25 miles. I was by myself, and I had to pack him out in 4 trips.
Did you use binoculars for the most part?
Or? No. I shot him with a bow and arrow. Yeah.
But like when you kind of track them, and like do you see them from far?
There's so many different ways to do it. Like, so when you are bow hunting, like during the rut for elk, right? That's when I killed him, was during the rut. They're making all kinds of sounds, and they're bugling, and that's the thrill of it. Like, you can get them. Like, I had a bull. He was a spike. I'm making cow calls and stuff like that, and he comes running in, and he's like from me to that wall, and you watch him like turn his head, and I'm kneeled down, and there's a bush like right here to my left, and I'm kneeled down kind of next to this bush. And he kind of turns his head like, what the hell are you? And it kind of slows down a little bit. And then he gets like from me to you and like hits the brakes and takes like 2 steps. And his face is like right here next to mine and burps in my face. And then turns around and runs like a 30-yard loop and just stands there. I'm like, you cocky little bastard, but it's a spike.
Intimidate you or something?
Yeah, so you've got different rules depending on where you're at, like what you can and can't shoot, the size, whether male or female, season, okay. Yeah. So I couldn't shoot him where I was. You could only shoot a branch bull.
How do you do? What is it like a map that you have like a certain territory?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to do it. Like. The main way is the legal map, which you've got split up into game management units. So let's say, this whole area right here is Montana. And, this section is like area 390. This section is 380. This section is 370. So in each one of those areas, you might have different rules on what you can and can't shoot.
How's it marked though, visually? I mean, you have a map, but then what do you go off of? Is there like certain maybe marks?
It might be based on terrain features.
You could just tell.
And it won't be marked. Like when you're out in the woods, it won't be marked. You just have to pretty much know land nav wise where you are at the time that you're shooting that animal or whatever. So one great thing that I use is Onyx Maps. It's an application on your phone. Well, you can get it on GPS or on your phone.
You know where you are.
Yeah, so you know exactly where you are. So what I do is, let's say I'm hunting in this area right here. What I'll do before I actually go into the field is I will take and I will save that section. And you've got different layers you can put on it and all that. So I'll save that section to my phone, and then I'll put it on airplane mode when I'm actually out in the field, so I don't drain my battery. Okay. And a lot of times you don't get signal out there anyway. So I don't drain my battery. I've got this off-grid map that will tell me exactly where I'm at. And then I also use like an actual map. Like I've got one right over here.
It's just so many regulations. Well, I mean, who can catch you, like a ranger?
Well, you've got Fish and Wildlife, game wardens, and stuff like that. So, like, I've got this topographical map, and I mostly navigate like with a topographical map. This is where I'm going in West Texas, right? So you were in the Marines, so you kind of maybe know land nav a little bit, right? Yeah. So I basically plotted my points on here. So what I'll do is, let's say I park my vehicle over here, and then based on where I want to go, I'll, and I've got like one of those little Write in the Rain books, and I'll take an azimuth for whichever direction I want to go, whichever point I want to go to, whatever, while I'm out there. And I know for the most part, based on terrain features and all that kind of stuff, where it is that I'm heading and where I'm at. So
you could usually tell, terrain.
Yeah. So, this I think is like the county line, and it completely changes game zones or whatever, like right in here.
Color right there.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got a ways to walk. I mean, each one of those is 1,000 meters. So you're pretty much going to know, hey, this is where I'm going. So a lot of times I'll navigate with a topo map.
What are the repercussions if you get caught?
It depends.
Yeah.
Like,
you can get fined. Can you go to jail?
Oh yeah, you can go to jail. Depends on it. It really depends on where you're at. Like if you skirt certain areas, like say I've never hunted this close to it, but I'm assuming that if you're hunting, like say close to Yellowstone, like really close to Yellowstone, like I hunt what I would consider to be close to Yellowstone. But even still, that's
off limits, right? Anything that's national park, it's automatically like a cap that you cannot.
Oh yeah, you can't hunt in a national park. Yeah. So I'm assuming that if, let's say you're skirting that area, if you find yourself in the wrong location, you end up, or a game warden says, oh, well, you killed this thing on a national park, whether you actually did or not, the burden of proof is on you at that point.
Really?
So you're guilty until proven innocent. It seems like, yeah. So, so you really got to be careful where you're at. So, like I said, I'll navigate with the topo map. Yeah. But to actually find out exactly where I'm at, I'll use that GPS on my phone with Onyx Maps.
You still like to be like risky a little bit, right? Staying close.
Not really. Like if I'm really skirting an area, like say I'm really skirting private property. Like when I killed that bull, I was like right on the line, and I was like 60 yards from the line. And he jumped the fence and went onto private property after I shot him. So I had to get the game warden involved, and I was smart enough, take pictures of everything, every drop of blood. I left my arrow where it was. I took pictures of it, like I took my nav feature on the Onyx map, and every single drop of blood, I dropped a point. So
only in America, I mean, this is so serious. It's like, next thing you see is like CSI people show up, and do analysis. It's it's good though, because people really follow the rules.
Well, you've got some people too, like the guy that owned the property that I killed that bull on. He didn't want to let me on, even after I killed the bull. And in the state of Montana, if a landowner doesn't want to let you on their land, regardless of whether you killed the animal on or you shot the animal on private property and it went onto it could be like 2 feet onto his property. He doesn't have to let you. So, which I've got conflicting views on that. You know, to me, that fucking sucks. And dude, I was so torn up because I put a bad shot on him. He jumped forward like right before I shot, and so it hit him far back.
Oh, so he was suffering.
Yeah, so he was suffering, and like I could watch him. Like I was watching him. I watched him go. He went up and he laid down, and I was like, man, you know, I wanted to sneak up and just put him out of his misery, but I couldn't do it because it was on.
Yeah, the thing, but just because you're a law-abiding citizen, but normally it's.
Nobody would have known I was there.
I was about to say, normally, unless there's like some drones or some hidden cameras in the woods, I presume it's big properties there and everything. You could have probably just dragged that sucker back and nobody would know if you know.
Oh, there's no dragging like 600 pounds, but yeah.
Or like, I don't know, put a chain on it and hold it with your truck. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, but even if you were to chuck it up there, it's not like somebody would happen to be in that area.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, you
just have to do it.
Nobody would have seen me.
That's why you do it by the books. Yeah.
Right. You know, but there is the off chance though that somebody's watching, and it's such a vast area. I mean, and it's good for checks and balances. You know, it keeps you honest. But
you have things to lose. You have things to lose.
Oh, if a game warden. If the game warden catches you, they take all your shit.
And it's
it's like anything that's
is it
considered
like a misdemeanor or felony.
It just depends. It depends on the
situation. Like a proper crime, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see you as a family guy. I can see that. Yeah. I respect that. I would do the same. You know, you have to. And it's kind of fun with more rules. It's more challenging.
Oh yeah.
Because you have like more obstacles.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It really is, and some of it gets daunting. Some of it, and depending on where you're hunting and stuff like that, the rules completely change.
When I drive through those areas and I see like wild animals, and I'm like, man, that would be amazing. Take like a 4-wheeler or a snowmobile, whatever. But is it? I see like fencing, but it doesn't look like a private property. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And is it just because they try to make like a little obstacle for animals to jump on the road, or is it?
It could be, a bunch of different things. Like they might have cows. They
like Montana, when you go down I-90.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
all over the place.
But if it's like just what is it, county, not private property, just like government land, you can just go anywhere there.
Yeah, public property, public land is mostly where I hunt, and you can go on public land. It's everybody's land, so you can go on it. I can go on it. Neighbor down the street, everybody's got access to it.
See, to you it's so obvious. It's just me. I'm completely.
Oh yeah. Well, being from.
I have like zero knowledge. So to me, it's like, and again, in this country, in this society, you have to follow the rules, and there are so many, it's like, it's things that it would be like a no-brainer in other countries, it's like you have to actually, you have to do it by the books,
Right.
I mean, I just paid my quarterly fuel tax, which was like $1,000. I didn't even know. They're like, oh, it's time to pay your quarter. It was my first one, since I bought the truck. Yeah, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, so yeah. I guess that's a hell of an introduction, into the podcast. But
we started?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, we've been going. So, great to have you on. And so you being from Ukraine, that's completely, of course you're a Russian spy for Trump,
Fake news.
Yeah, but what I think is really interesting about that is like how you've completely changed your political ideology and stuff like that. And this is not a political.
On my Facebook, probably you've observed it, right?
Well, yeah, and we've talked a little bit about it, but and this is not a political podcast. It's just I find it really interesting because it seems like you've a lot of the wilderness from a conservational side. They tend to be from the far left. It seems like, like PETA and all that kind of, they all like are very liberal, very, very liberal. Yeah. And then, your hunters are, of course, the rednecks with the trucker hat, and, they drive around in their truck and
get her done.
Yeah. Larry the Cable Guy kind of, which that's kind of what I'm trying to change, is that whole like mentality behind it. But anyway, from being in Ukraine, one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on here is because you started out from really humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And you've had to bust your fucking ass to get to where you're at, and now you own a trucking company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like big,
operation, yeah. One man, one man army basically, but yeah.
But that's the American dream, is, for a lot of people, is to own your own business.
That's already 6 figures. So yeah, it's like, most people don't realize, that people that are in their little nice outfits, that are making maybe like quarter of that, and like looking at me like, oh, just dirty trucker. They don't realize that, you paid the price. I actually chose to. I have a bachelor's in marketing from university in Ukraine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my parents are actually educated. They're professors in Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's, I chose this life.
So I guess start from the beginning. Where did you come from?
That's a good one.
And like, what was it like in Ukraine? And, what made you decide to come to the United States and to, come up with this whole dream and idea of what you've got now?
Yeah.
And where you plan to go?
Oh yeah. Well, it started with Terminator. I'm not even joking.
So, you've got the accent.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Similar. Yeah. So it's Iron Curtain. Are you familiar with the term?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Iron Curtain, USSR collapsed. The Iron Curtain came down. So they started, in allowing the movies and music from abroad illegally. Before it was illegal to even show Hollywood movies in some places, to export recordings. And so of course I watched Terminator, and I was like, this is brilliant, man. And I was a big fan of like rock music, and I had like AC/DC, Metallica, and my parents were pretty encouraging.
Yeah, he's over here. Let me let him outside real quick. He's over here.
That's okay. Yeah, he came up to me for a second to say hi.
All right,
good boy.
Outside. Go on. Good boy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the things that I cannot be mad at animals and kids, because they're innocent. They're just
and people are.
That's my weakness. Dogs are just forget about it. Dogs, they can just shit on my seat, and I'm not gonna get mad. But yeah, back to that. And so I saw Terminator, and I asked my parents. I was like, oh, this is a cool language, and it's like Hollywood had me sold, and that's pretty much their job, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, they really marketed United States properly, and I was like, where are they from? And my parents are like, they're speaking English. This is America, son. They're in America. And I told my mom, I was 4 years old. I was like, I'm gonna move to America and buy mommy a new dress and my daddy a car. And I said, I was like, I was obsessed. And yeah, and I started actually learning the Latin alphabet, which is what you guys use. We have Cyrillic, Russian and Ukrainian Cyrillic alphabet. And we had some foreign students, because my parents, when they were like young educators, they let them live in those hostels, like dorms type of thing, for the students. And so we stayed there too, and there was a lot of students, foreign students, because education was cheap and high quality back then. And so a lot of them were for like sub-Saharan Africa, India, Middle East, and a lot of them were bilingual, trilingual, because they knew English quite decently, and also they knew, they spoke some basic Russian to study there. And I would go to the dumpster, and there would be like cardboards from appliances, like foreign appliances, and I would take a piece and run up to the guy and like, hey, mister, how do you pronounce this? How do you pronounce it? Like literally letters. So I actually like learned even the alphabet, how to pronounce letters, because it was totally different alphabet.
Yeah, but see, that drive is like lost across, I think, the American people. Like, it used to exist, it seems like, from everything I've read historically and stuff like that, where, you know, people start out from, you know, really, really humble beginnings. But it seems like all those people that are the true success stories started out, you know, just for that drive to wanting to learn.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to start out, like, you didn't know the fucking language.
No.
You had no idea.
Yeah.
And to start out that way, I think says a lot. Like,
well, you know, we spoke on the phone last night. It was, it's also what I liked is when I saw like Michael Jackson, you know, or like whatever, you know, Western, like Prince, people who are just like so really expressive, like Rick James, whatever, you know, you name it.
Rick James, bitch.
Yeah, Rick James, yeah, like, and you see that they're just like, they're out of control. They wear like boots with high heels and just long crazy hair, and where I come from, it was still that post USSR environment where it's like everybody has to be, you know, like equally miserable, and if you try to, you know, jump ahead of the crowd, we're gonna pull you back in and drag you down. Like, who the hell do you think you are? The first person who tried to discourage me was my English teacher in elementary school. I was like really excited that I started finally to take English classes. He was like, "Oh, what do you think you'll ever make it there?" Like, literally, that was my teacher, my English teacher, who told me like, why are you so excited? It's not gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I cried. I mean, I was really frustrated. I cried, and I ran home.
Send them a letter now. Be like,
I was like 9 years old maybe. No, hold on. Elementary school. That's I think it was 7 or 8, right? Some of the first couple of years.
Yeah. So I
7
think.
or 8. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it is there.
And that's when they started teaching English basics, and there was some burnt out, you know, alcoholic, you know, unaccomplished old man, you know, that was just miserable. But yeah, but I'm just lucky because I'm stubborn and I'm rebellious, and so, you know, I like to be spitefully successful, you know.
Yeah.
And all throughout my childhood, you know, everywhere in school, whether it's doing different sports, it's always, you know, I felt like I didn't really fit in because of that structure, you know, and a lot of them, like, that's the way their parents saw them, and it's like, hey, you know, we had a saying, why would you hurt that guy? Oh, because his life wouldn't be too sweet, you know. It's like, like somebody seems to have a very good life. We need to like
we gotta fuck it up somehow.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like, I'm not happy, but I'll make sure that you're not happy either, you know. And we're observing some of that here too. Like these days, it's like people are not trying to be like someone successful. It's like this poisonous mentality of this, like, you know, Marxism and socialism. It's like, it's like, are you just trying to help the poor, or
you've got to be equal across the board? Like, you know, nobody deserves anything better than anybody else, and
equality of outcome.
Equality of outcome. Well,
it's very sad.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
it's scary too. I ran from that regime. Like my grandparents, my great grandparents told me stories. You know, they survived. My great grandparents survived the famine. You know, and you know, and I came here to escape from that, to have like continue my bloodline in a free country. You know, where sky's not the limit. You know, not there's space. You know, science. You know, the sky's not the limit at all.
This is going to be somewhat political.
Yeah.
But well, not somewhat. It is going to be political.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think now that, and we'll get into, you know, how you started your company and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But what do you think now that you have started your company, 6-figure income and all that kind of stuff, the whole tax system and, you know, the mentality behind, okay, well, you know, because you make X amount of money now, you should pay 70% tax. I think in France right now it's like 70% tax.
Well, that's why you see what's going on. It's in ruins.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
they're
yellow
like
jacket movement or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
People realize people had enough. You know, regressive, extremely regressive agenda.
So what do what do you think now? Like now that you started from, going and killing your own chickens so that you could eat.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
In Ukraine and stuff like that, and maybe we can get into a little bit of what you had to go through here, just to start out.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that? That whole mentality and that idea of, okay, well, because you're successful and you, regardless of whether you had to work your ass off to get to where you're at.
We don't care about the journey. You're doing good.
Yeah, but now you need to help these people who are not free and, well, they're free, but they don't have a advantage like everybody else. If anybody did not have an advantage, I would say it was somebody from another country that did not know English.
Ironically, they're all doing good. I have my friends from Nigeria, my friends from Kenya, my friends from anywhere, like you take it, South America, anywhere. I mean, look at the Ukrainians here, they're all like run the trucking industry. Ironically, it's the people who had really tough start are the ones that actually rising above now. And it's people that actually, I spent about 7 years just to have the privilege of being a U.S. citizen. I think I became over 3 years ago. Yeah. Before that, I was different green card, work visa, all that stuff.
Why did you want to become a U.S. citizen versus having a green card or just being a resident?
Yeah, green card. You're still officially a citizen of Ukraine. But you're an immigrant here, so it's kind of half-ass. The way I understand it, I'm not an expert on, immigration law, but also some countries allow you to have dual citizenship. I guess currently, there is this some civil unrest in Ukraine and some stuff with Russia and Eastern Ukraine. So I think because of that, they don't allow us to do that. So I had to do either or, and it was a bit, I had some inner conflicts, because you're basically giving up your original citizenship. But I'll tell you this, again, I love my heritage. I'm proud of my culture. I just did my 23andMe. I'm 100% European, but I'm actually 97.5% Eastern European. So that's as pure as it gets.
Yeah, you're pretty damn Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, my problem is that, I call my people out on that. I think that a lot of people in different communities need to start doing that. You embrace your culture, you embrace your origins, but you also call your own people out on bullcrap.
So does that 23andMe, just because I'm curious, I've been interested in doing it myself because I know I've got a fucking melting pot.
Yeah. American.
Yeah. Well, my dad was Mexican. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and you couldn't tell by the color of my skin. I burn pretty damn easy. But yeah, my dad was Mexican. My mom, Native American, Irish, blah, 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 all that.
Wow, yeah.
So I've been really interested in doing it. But I'm more interested in the anthropological side of it, I wonder how much of it is do you study evolution at all? Have you?
I'm a big fan.
Okay.
I'm an enthusiast. I'm not a scientist, obviously, but yeah, I'm a big fan of behavioral sciences. But you can really understand human psychology when you go back to the origins and you study,
Okay. Yeah. So
primates.
Perfect. So yeah. How does it tell how much of the Neanderthal base
I have 247 Neanderthal links or whatever.
Holy crap!
Yeah. I have a pretty high. Could explain my height. Yeah, I actually have a pretty decent amount of Neanderthal ancestry in mine.
Wow. Yeah. So I was pretty interested in that because I'm wondering, where I lie with all that, and I've really started to get into that. Do you? Well, you had told me actually about Steve Rinella and the meat eater. Meat eater.
That's crazy. I'm the one that it's so bizarre that I am the one who introduced you to it. I've never even been to hunting yet, but I just saw him on Netflix while I'm sleeping in the back of the truck and
Dude, I got fucking hooked on that
crazy.
show. Yeah, I got hooked on that show.
I'm so surprised you didn't know about it.
Have you read any of his books?
No, I'm too
okay.
ADD to read. Audiobooks maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, audio and stuff like that too. But yeah, his book, The American Buffalo, or yeah, I think it's American Buffalo, American Bison. I think it's American Buffalo. Great fucking book, man.
What is it about? Mostly hunting?
Well, it's about his trip that he did in Alaska. He won like this fucking outstanding hunt in Alaska on a draw. And are you familiar with how draws work and stuff?
No idea.
Oh, okay. So, so you might have like a pot of, for arbitrary numbers, let's say like 1,000 people put in for this draw, right? Yeah. You put in for this license to hunt in this certain area, right? For this certain species of animal.
Yeah.
And he had put in for a buffalo tag in the Copper River area of
like lottery almost?
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, basically. And they give out like 24 tags. And I don't know how many people applied, but basically it talks about like his whole trip, but at the same time it gives nuggets of information about the history of buffalo and bison and the biological side of it, the wildlife biology explanation of the bison and the history of the bison all the way back to like the Ice Age and all that kind of stuff. And it's really fucking fascinating book. I mean, and it's got like some funny stuff in there too, but it also talks, because from what I've gathered on Steve, is he's very much into anthropology.
Okay.
So he also talks about the anthropological side of, you know, how us as humans
of course,
relied on the buffalo and stuff like that. So side note, but great fucking book. I mean, I highly recommend it.
You were the one, see, like I just told you the name. You were the one that just told me Stephen. I was like, who?
Yeah, Steve Ranella. Yeah, Stephen Ranella. Yeah.
I didn't even remember his name.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'll shoot you a text, his name or whatever, and if you do audiobooks and stuff like that, I know it's on audio.
Yeah, when I drive, it's all I do. You know?
Great book. I don't remember how long.
You see even those like primitive drawings in the caves where it's like chasing buffalo like our ancestors.
Yeah, I don't know that he really talks like about those so much, but he talks about like how he had visited these different sites and all that kind of stuff, and how, you know, they'd find arrowheads and remains of bison and all that kind of stuff. And we have this view of Native Americans like, oh, they used everything and you know, all that kind of stuff, and not necessarily true. Like if you talk about the buffalo jumps and stuff like that, and I knew this before I had read this book, but you know, you run 300 buffalo off of a cliff and you've got a tribe of like 100 people. What are you doing with that meat? You don't got a freezer. You know. So they only took what they could use.
And the rest just rots.
Yeah, and the rest would rot. And he talks about like historical accounts of like, you know, the stench and all that kind of stuff surrounding like some of these places. God, I could only imagine. And actually, I don't know if buffalo just like can't fucking swim or what it is, but one of the biggest killers of buffalo was actually like rivers and floods and stuff. And he said there were accounts of like thousands of buffalo being killed like in rivers, and just like how these and like how all these explorers would talk about how all these buffalo would be just like caught up in these little eddies and pools and stuff like that, with just like stench of bison and like rot and all. And it was fascinating book. Yeah, I think you'd really like that.
What do you call that? Mammoth?
Yeah.
You know, they used to say that it's because of humans they got extinct, but it turns out that it wasn't. That it was like a natural phenomenon.
Yeah, there was a lot of different natural phenomena. I think that
here on this continent there used to be like tigers, and there used to be a lot more wildlife.
Oh yeah, another good one, Dan Flores. Have you ever heard of Dan Flores? Okay, so I'm actually reading his book right now, Coyote America, but I don't know that he's a biologist, but he is. He writes a lot about the investigative side of ancient biology and all that kind of stuff, and he's got a lot of really good information about like the book I'm reading right now is Coyote America, but he's also got one that's American Serengeti and stuff like that, and I learned about it on Rogan's podcast.
It's amazing. Rogan's,
yeah,
I learned half of
so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rogan, it's he has everybody on, from Elon Musk to whatever else.
Well, and he's so open-minded
and
with
egoless. That's what I like.
Yeah.
From him. He just sits there and he just asks questions, and he might disagree with something, but he just sits there and just like with that bold and like what like.
And he's a fucking beast though.
Yeah, and he's just like. So what did it? And it's just amazing because he just sits there and just like looks at you and like asks away,
And he's a super smart guy. It seems like.
Yeah, and humble. That's what I like.
Yeah.
He's humble.
Yeah, we sit here and call him a smart guy. He'd be like, I'm a fucking idiot. But
yeah, but it's humility. But also, I think the fact that his success, he kind of jump started this whole thing. But I think that this phenomena that's happening, that more and more bros, dudes just getting together, it's kind of like going back to. Those times when man would gather around fire and just at the end of the day talk about what who learned what about hunting, about different experiences, about whatever, and then share information. And I think this is like podcast. It's mostly, let's be honest, it's mostly just dudes, and especially these marginalized dudes who still have some hair on their chest, who refuse to give in, we're the toxic masculine dudes, So and we.
Oh, you can't be saying shit like that, man. Toxic masculinity,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's trigger warning.
Yeah, all of a sudden just.
Is this a safe zone?
Just lost half of my viewership, even though I only had like 2 to begin with. So.
Listen, well, it's okay, and we'll attract the wrong people.
Yeah,
everybody's welcome to the party.
What's interesting is something I've noticed with everything, because like I told you before, my whole goal behind doing what I'm doing with the outdoor side of thing is to change the perception of hunters. You got like Disney and DreamWorks and stuff like that. Like one of my kids' favorite movies is Open Season. And the hunter is this fucking redneck, like guy that just goes out and is trying to murder like all these different animals. I'm gonna stick her head on the wall. And he's like, inbred looking.
Heartless. Horrible people.
And that is not the case. And I'm really trying to change that perception, which intentional or unintentional, whether Disney wanted to do something like that or not, I'm trying to change the perception on that. So, I just lost where I was going with that. But
there's a lot more dignity to the going and actually putting work into that. Like I told you, like ideally that's what I want to get to. It's just that I travel for work so much, but that's what I would love to do. Have some coolers in the garage and actually go and earn my food.
Yeah.
So just sitting there commenting, criticizing hunters online while going and buying chicken, and I see the trucks passing by. It's talk about oppression. I mean that those animals have never like spread their wings. It's so miserable.
Oh, this is where I was going with that.
Buy that shit anymore.
So what I was saying was like getting into this whole side of things, right? Mm-hmm. If you watch like my Instagram like followers and stuff like that, because it's I take such huge swings because, and I think just based on what I've seen is I talk about conservation and wildlife management and all that kind of stuff, and I've had so many animal activists start following me because I'll show a picture of a grizzly bear, and they're like, oh wow, it's so beautiful and all that kind of stuff, and then they see a blog, is the grizzly really endangered, and then talk about how, you know, we need to manage these animals based on a hunting season and stuff like that, and they're like, fuck that guy. You want to kill this iconic animal, you just fucking took a picture of him, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. No, that's not the case at all. It's like these people are so disconnected from reality.
Well, nature, we are, that's the thing, we got ourselves out of the food chain, but all the hunters are doing basically put us back into the food chain and just playing our role as predators, you know, highly evolved, advanced predators that make hand tools. You know?
Well, you go out with a bow and arrow in grizzly country and you find out who the predator really is.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean,
don't realize that. Like I said, there's a lot more honor in going out there. Actually, you do take risks. Even boar can eat your feet.
Oh yeah. I've killed several wild boar. I love hunting wild boar. So much fun, which is interesting too. Like, those animal activists don't care so much about wild pigs
because they're not as cuddly.
Yeah, they're not cuddly at all. They're nasty fucking. But
things.
Yeah, they look ugly. I think they look great. I love the way they look, but yeah, they're not all fluffy and all that.
You know, they show favoritism to animals.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's why we bred dogs to be cute. I was just at my hairdresser's and she had a beagle. Oh god, the most cute puppy, a beagle.
Most
puppy.
Annoying fucking dog
yeah,
ever.
But it's so adorable, so sweet though. It has a little white paws, you know, a little tip of the tail. You know, like they're so cute with their ears, and he's just like jumping on me. I'm like, oh my god, let me adopt you. You know, and it's like, you know, we artificially bred them to be cute. That's why, you know, and that's, again, people don't realize that artificial selection, how we bred some animals.
Oh yeah.
They threw out the ugly ones, and they kept, you know.
I was watching this. Not to jump around to it. We're jumping around a lot, but.
Editing will be done.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I might do a free form. We'll just see. But yeah. Have you watched Grizzly Man?
No.
Oh, dude, you've got to fucking watch that shit.
Hunting. Right?
No. Fucking extreme animal activists for grizzlies.
Like one of those Greenpeace type guys?
I don't know exactly how to explain this guy. Mm-hmm. I think if you were just to talk to him, and like, you would be like flamboyantly gay. Not that I have any issue with gay people, because I have a lot of friends that are gay, but like flamboyant, like got long blonde hair to like here, and like very like, hey, you know, like
extra.
Oh yeah, extra, like to the extreme.
One of those that have a little dog in his purse.
Yeah, except I think he would probably attract some more predators. But anyway, yeah. So he did a lot of like really fascinating stuff. You know, he's a self-proclaimed person that's studying these bears and protecting these grizzlies and stuff like that. Although that can be debated, but he goes out and, like, in some of his video and stuff like that, like wild fox, like he goes out years, well, not at a time, but like he goes out during the summer months and into the fall, and repeatedly for like years, and he ends up seeing these fox and stuff like that, and watching these fox grow up, and they're like sitting there playing with him, they're jumping on his tent and everything, he's sitting there playing with them and all that kind of stuff, and you know, they're like running off with his hat, and like, and he's petting these fox and everything, and you know, I'm like, so that's basically how dogs came into existence, I think, is, you know, maybe these wolves came in and yeah, and all of a sudden it got to the point where, hey, you know, they were getting the scraps, and then they were comfortable with humans, and then, oh, well, okay, well, we'll take this pup, and, you know, we'll breed it with this pup.
One that's more tameable.
Yeah.
You know, there's actually, it's a phenomenon. There was a good show, I have a curiosity stream. It's kind of like you pay a few bucks a month. It's kind of like Netflix for nerds, basically. And it was dedicated to dogs, and it was just so amazing. And they talk about that, it's like there's some wolves, they're missing, I guess they're more tameable, they are missing some aggressive gene, and some of those, they call the lone wolf, it's like a term, it's actually a thing. Sometimes they would not be part of the pack, they would just be on their own, and they're usually more, they're not as aggressive. And there were theories that they would just kind of, just chill by themselves, and I guess people would, throw them some food, start warming up to them.
So what they're saying is like lone wolves were the ones that were like that. I guess because they didn't have the alpha mentality.
Yeah. So and you could tell like the way dogs are. I mean, some of them would still have alphas, but you have to dominate. You have to be the alpha in the pack because some
a lot of German shepherds and
they still have that wild side to them, but they would basically, some of those passive ones, tameable, because and that's why they would keep them, and then they would have pups, and they would literally just drown the bad ones, the ones that would like, be aggressive. That's the dark side of how we got the cute little dogs now. People don't realize that for thousands of years they would like literally just kill the rest.
It's crazy. You got these 120, 150 pound dogs down to like these little teacup. Like
that. And when people say though, it's so funny because people that are scientific theories or facts, should we call it? They're like, oh,
the evolutionary facts and stuff like that.
Hey, we came from monkeys. Why is there so monkeys? And
yeah.
No. If dogs came from a gray wolf, why is there chihuahuas and there's still gray wolves? Like, there you go.
You think it started out as a chihuahua? You think if you stick a chihuahua out into the wild, you think that motherfucker's gonna last?
It's like, I mean, they have. It's somewhat. They're not same species anymore, but it's again. And that's just a few thousands of years of artificial selection. Think about millions, hundreds of millions of years of natural selection. Just the environment, whatever it fits to environment. That's why, what is it, polar bear? There would be like mutation, so it would be like an albino bear born in those cold regions, and it would be more likely to survive. It would pass on its genes.
Well, anthropologically, they talk about the Nordic regions and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, okay, so why are black people in Africa? Well, they had to fucking guard against the sun, so they maintained a certain amount of pigment to guard against the sun. Obviously you get tan if you stay out in the sun eventually. So, you're from the Eastern Bloc, so not a whole lot of fucking sun there.
Yeah. Well, usually, like, especially people from more northern places that are really pale. But again, there's the whole theory that, like, albinos, that's kind of how we came about. Like, I guess it was albinos, and they would be, like, the minority, and they would kind of, so we're the minority. They would kind of, like, group together. I mean, even today, like, in Africa, like, they're being, like, fetishized weirdly, like, they chop up parts of their bodies as, like, a sacred symbol or something.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know about that?
No.
Albinos, in some places in Africa, some of the less developed ones where it's still tribal, they, like, hunt. It's, like hunting, exotic elephants.
Well, Steve Vernella, he talks about in American Buffalo, the relationship with the white buffalo, the albino buffalo, and he said that they generally would not live that long. I'm assuming probably because of the sun, and he talks about it too. Because of the sun, their eyes are so light and everything like that, it probably makes them go blind. There's and all that kind of stuff.
I think in a lot of species, especially primates, it's like a genetic mutation. And again, I mean, scientifically, we're already 23andMe actually gives you like a group, your paternal and maternal group tracking you all the way back to our African ancestors. So actually, it turns out that I share, I think, a maternal group with Benjamin Franklin.
Wow.
Yeah. Somehow they connect. Somehow, I don't know how they find out, those people, because they don't have their DNA anymore, I don't think.
Not that I'm nearly as smart.
Yeah.
But I know that my family on my grandpa's side is directly in contact with Isaac Newton. We went to the Newton family reunion last year.
Legit. Huh?
Yeah. In Georgia, I think it was.
We share a birthday.
No. I'm sorry. It was in South Carolina. Wow. They had the Newton family reunion in Bennettsville, I think it was, South Carolina.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it was really interesting. Like you get all these people from the same family in the room. Never met any of these fucking people, and you look around the room and you're like, okay, so I can definitely see the similarities.
Really? Some features.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Like if you look at my grandpa versus his long lost cousin, which that's how they ended up meeting. An interesting story is, I don't remember exactly how they ended up meeting, but they like bumped into each other and like somehow they got to talking about their heritage and everything. And he goes, "You're a Newton." My grandpa was like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" He's like, "I can tell." He's like, "You're a Newton."
Wow.
And so got to looking, and my grandpa's got this whole book of like our family lineage, like all the way up to like our coat of arms in somewhere. I don't know. I should probably do more research on it, but I feel like a fucking idiot.
People were there, like hundreds?
Oh, there was in that room, and obviously not everybody made it. But in that room, there was probably 150 people. I mean, and you look at Isaac Newton from that time versus the branching out and everything like that.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, and really, that's a short period of time for people.
Well, what is it, a couple of decades? How long has it been? 1800s?
Yeah, a couple hundred years.
Yeah. That's how I mess with my religious friends when I post my birthday, which is December 25th, and that's his birthday too. So I'm like, I'm extremely proud to share my birthday with the most significant man in our society today. And people, of course, like would think that I would say Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I saw that.
Yeah. I do this every year, and it's like, and I see like the number of my followers on Instagram declines. Just drops.
Oh, that's what I was talking about before. That brings me back to what I was talking about. Yeah. So the conservational side of things, like I'll notice like a jump in like 10, 15, 20 people.
Yeah. And
then, after like 2 days, it like drastically drops back down because they see, oh, okay, well, you got a fucking murdered animal right there. But they ignore the side where I'm cooking and I show all these meals and stuff that you can do with it and all that kind of stuff.
Doing things on your own, you put it in the work, something that those people will not do. They'll just go buy a cheap, unethical meat, as I call it. They'll buy it at the store and then try to virtue signal from their mom's basement on a laptop.
Yeah.
And it's so hypocritical.
Well, I mean, traditionally, of course, people didn't hunt; they were hunters, or they were just gatherers, right? Yeah, according to them, they
of course not. That's why we have fangs. I mean, we're that's to eat lettuce.
Yeah.
These fangs that I say how no.
Interestingly, I learned this in Dan Flores' book. Is the coyote has molars? I never realized that. I've killed I don't know how many coyotes, and I've never actually looked and really paid attention to it. But they've actually got molars, and they're omnivores.
Oh, wow.
That there's accounts of them eating berries and grasses and like all kinds of stuff like that as well, and they can survive on plant-based foods as well as the meat side, and extremely adaptable. But anyway,
blackbirds, they eat.
Oh yeah, they're omnivore. Yeah. So are grizzlies. They're omnivores.
So omnivore, like, again, I'm so uneducated on this, but omnivore is like eating
both. Yeah, okay. Basically. Yeah. Okay, like bisexual. They go both ways.
Swinging both ways. Yeah, you see that like classic image of a bear just grabbing salmon, trout.
Well, yeah, okay, so that's interesting too. So the grizzly we have as an interior grizzly in like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, all that. And so basically a grizzly is a brown bear. There is a distinction though. A brown bear is a bear that has access to marine resources. So it has access to the salmon run and, you know, all that coastal regions where they're going to eat mostly fish and all that kind of stuff. A grizzly does not have that access.
Yeah.
So it's going to be most likely more on plant-based, and the meat that it eats is going to be hunted meat. Mm-hmm. Not that the brown bear doesn't, but because it has such a high marine resource, it tends to be a lot bigger.
Better nutrition, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to have huge.
That's why throughout evolution, I would picture that they would like have more and more difference
right.
in diet.
So I'm guessing, and I have not researched this, but it's just based on my guess. From what I understand, the last grizzly or brown bear was killed in California, or not the last one that was killed, but the last one in California that was killed was in like 1922, and it was based on what they call the X bear.
So is
So
that like a different species?
no. They called it the X bear because it had a big X on its back, like just coloration, I guess. Wow. And so it had killed this exploration, and like all these people found when they went looking for him was like part of an arm, and you know, stuff like that. So they hunted down this bear, and next thing you know, like they just fucking decimated all of these bears in the California region.
Who did?
Just people in general, because they were afraid of them. So they killed him.
About some ancient bear, like short-faced bear?
Oh, the short-faced bear. Yeah, that was higher up, like in like along the Bering Strait, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And there's I think I learned this on Rogan. I don't know, I've read about it too, but there's a lot of argument that the short-faced bear was what kept people from coming over to the United States until...
It wasn't Rogan.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I heard it too,
yeah. So there's been several different biologists and stuff like that I've heard that from, but I think I heard it first on Rogan. But yeah, have you seen a picture of that thing?
Yeah, it's
dude,
funky looking.
Funky looking and like ginormous.
Cute, almost like a cute face, but like
yeah, really long and.
Yeah, can you imagine that thing just running up to you like?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a grizzly?
In person?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. Fucking huge.
Your profile picture. What is that?
Yeah, that was a grizzly. Yeah. What is the MMA fighter? Yeah, he was fucking wrestling a brown bear. Right?
That's insane, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard that, you know, I mean, I've never been to Russia, but because Russia's like more north, you know, and it's like it is a different culture than Ukrainian, especially like towards Siberia, and it's a big part of their folklore. You know, there's not a whole lot of bears in Ukraine except for like Carpathian Mountains, but in Russia it's like the taiga and Siberia. It's a big part of, you know, even in fairy tales and folk songs. There's always a bear. Like a bear is like, you know, is like a local dude. They treat them like humans.
Yeah. So before we get off too much on the fucking wildlife thing, so what started you out here? Oh. Like what was your background here?
Oh yeah, again, wow, gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because it's like, you know, this is why I work extra, because bringing back those memories. It's just $200 in the pocket, a backpack, and just waiting tables.
Wait, you started here with $200?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, we were homeless.
Now $200 doesn't get you shit.
Well, back then it didn't either. You know, not a whole lot. I mean, it was what, 12 years ago now. 12 years. Yeah, I was
shit.
18. Yeah. So, and it was some other Ukrainians as well. It was Ocean City, New Jersey. So it was, but it was before the season started. So like April, we came there, and we were supposed to work in some like little restaurants on the boardwalk or whatever for minimum wage, but it was too early, so the season hasn't started. So most of other kids, they were just like freaking out. You know, we came here too early. You know, that agency that sent us here, you know, that got us visas, and I was just so hyped up that hotel where we stayed after we came back from JFK. It was in front. It was on the boardwalk as well, and I was just talking to the manager at night, to sleep, and I'm like I still can't believe that I'm in America now. It's like a dream come true. And I'm like talking to him and trying to show that my English is pretty decent. And he's like, oh my god. He's like, okay, do you want a job? I'm like, yeah, I'll try it, yeah. And I've never even had a job really. The next day he like showed me on the computer how to make reservations, how to check people in. Yeah, and then 2 days later he just left. He just left to some wedding.
Oh shit.
Left me there, and I with my somewhat decent English, never really had a job, and now I'm here with a hotel. And I rented out I made some mistakes with paperwork, but I rented out like half of the rooms, and it was a weekend too. Yeah, and that's how I got my first job. And of course, I was just bouncing back and forth, waiting tables, cleaning toilets at motels, doing front desk in this first motel. Usually like juggling about 3 jobs at the same time. Bought a first bicycle, a raggedy old bicycle.
Yeah.
Before that, would take a bus.
So there's a saying that I'm really fond of, and I think it was a famous like wrestler. And when I talk about wrestling, I'm not talking about wrestling, all that shit.
Yeah.
But a famous wrestler that said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
So basically, it seems like, okay, well, yeah, you had a lucky break, but fucking came here with $200 in your pocket, and you were hungry for something, and this guy gave you a shot.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But it's like when you have to like really be present. It's I used to also restore this furniture back in Florida, and there was another guy, a guy that owned another business, a few buildings over, and he would come in and talk to my boss, and every morning he would be like, "How you doing?" I'll be like, "Phenomenal." He's like, "Man, what are you like? How much money are you making?
What are you smoking?"
Yeah, he's like, "You're always doing great." And I was again making like minimum wage, but I was just so enthusiastic, and that's the approach. It's like if you start with the wrong attitude, sometimes you see these teenagers in like a fast food or whatever, and they have this attitude and whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a shitty job. Yeah, that's why we give it to you, because you have no qualifications. That's why you're doing the shitty job. And how you thinking to advance if you cannot even handle a shitty job? How can you expect to do good in life? And I just always had that enthusiasm. It's like, because I knew that in my mind it was just temporary. It's just temporary struggle. Get through it. Again.
So when you were doing that,
yeah,
it seems like, from my experience, and this is just my personal experience, but I did fast food and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
The shittier your job, the people who have been in it the longest are the ones that seem to want to hold you down the most.
Of course.
Did you experience that at all?
Oh yeah, and it would be usually like or doing retail. Like I've done all the shitty jobs, except for being a hooker. Like pretty much, I've done it all.
Oh come on!
I didn't feel like shaving my legs. I was just I'm too lazy. But no, it's I would do these jobs, and it's like, yeah, sometimes it would be like somebody, like some middle-aged guy or a lady, and to me it's just I'm just a passenger. Obviously I don't want to get stuck there for all my life. And they would like be kind of like, okay, I'll teach you, or like, and they would try to drag you down, and it's like, what the hell does he think he is?
Yeah.
Some freaking immigrant. Like I was born and raised here. Like, and this is my thing, and this kid just comes in here acting like he's all that.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing. It's always harder, to.
But you came legitimately.
Yeah.
And that's a polar racial shit storm right now.
And it's funny because I was discriminated by everybody when they say that when I tell my story, and some people that that represent minorities, they would be like, oh, it's the so-called white privilege or whatever, and people don't realize that I didn't have a whole lot of favoritism from white people either. Like, especially when they would hear my accent in the South. Oh God, that would be very discriminating. They would like, go back to the shithole you came from,
Yeah.
It's people don't realize that.
And this was pre-Trump, so people can't blame it on.
It's silly that it's like Trump. I mean, come on. It's
not that I'm a fan of Trump.
No, me neither. But actually, I'm giving it a second look, and I'm like, okay, it's silly. He's not as bad. I mean, Democrats are not as good as I used to think, and Republicans are not as bad as I used to think. And now I'm more towards the center. Now I'm again. When you follow you're among sheep, and then sometimes you just need to like step aside and just kind of take a second and analyze. Okay, what's going on? Why am I just going along with everybody?
Yeah, let me critically think about.
Yeah.
And then I think too, you start to get outside of like all these different like we're kind of going through it right now with and I keep bringing it back to the wildlife side of things, but we've got these wildlife conservation bills and all that kind of stuff, and then ultimately so you've got all these different bills and everything like that that are created, and I'm not talking about one in particular, but throughout historical United States. So they create these bills like for national parks, like Teddy Roosevelt, he created the national parks and a bunch of the public land movement and stuff like that. So everybody had access to these natural resources, and I'm going to get some fucking hate mail probably because talking about animals as natural resources, but but we're stewards of the land, we need to manage that. But anyway, so there are these different bills and legislation and stuff like that that started by by passing these bills so that we could have public lands and access to public lands and all that kind of stuff. So, we go through that right now. The thing that I've seen, and I absolutely despise, and I understand the reason for it, not that I agree with the reason for it, but, they'll put on all these bill riders and stuff like that to pass whatever their benevolent agenda is in the like backcountry hunters and anglers. They sent out this post the other day. It said, pass the bill as it is. Basically cut the pork, cut the fat off of it. Don't quit fucking adding shit to it. Just pass the bill as it is, and quit adding shit to it, because we don't need all this extra shit that you guys are adding.
More regulations.
Yeah, it could be something like, and this might be extreme, but we're talking about like, so they're creating a national park in this certain area, or like a monument in this national park. Okay. And then all of a sudden you've got a legislator that says, yeah, well, at the same time we need to create this building so that we can control tolls and all that kind of stuff to go into this national park. No, we don't fucking need all that. We can take care of our public land.
Like the most important thing, and then,
right?
And then eventually work out.
Yeah, and then as things go along, you've got all these amendments to the bills, and all that kind of stuff, and that junk drives me crazy. But anyway, I digress.
See, I'm not too familiar, but I'm learning about these things from you mostly. Because I want to be as informed as possible before I jump into the game. So for now I'm just.
Well,
once
I think you're definitely on the right track. Like, if you look at, I think anybody that starts out with the mentality, you started from a really humble beginning. So you started out managing your own livestock and going out and killing your own chickens, and you understood resources. You understood resources, and you didn't go out and. It would be devastating to you guys if you were just like bloodthirsty, went out and killed all your fucking chickens. That's not the way it works. You actually manage and you take from your herd.
You give them names.
Yeah, based on what you need. So you guys want to make chicken soup tonight? Okay, well I'm gonna go out and kill a chicken, not 5 chickens.
Yeah, and then you look at the one who gives the most eggs, and
it's management. You kill the older ones. You don't want to get rid of the young, productive ones. You kill the ones that aren't producing anymore. So, that kind of brings it into the trophy hunting aspect of things. People get all pissed off because of trophy hunting. Yeah, we want to kill a big mature animal, but at the same time, those big mature animals, a lot of times, they only have a lifespan. So they're only productive up into a certain point.
Yeah.
You know, and then at that point, they've got to be called out. And if they're not called out, you know, they're killing the younger, productive ones.
Or they will suffer. I mean, they will end up getting eaten. And again, like, it's much better for the animal to just be taken out by a professional.
I wouldn't use that term.
Well,
but
kind of like, you know, like someone who's trained to do it, you know, clean, so the animal that suffers as little as possible. Then predators out in the woods that will, like, you know, it will like eat it as it's alive and keep it alive on purpose so it would not start rotting. So,
well, yeah, I told you I killed that raccoon the other day. Well, I killed it with a rock. He was like, from me to you. That is not normal. I mean, I've never been that close to a raccoon. But I think he was blind. Okay, so, because, you know, I've got pictures and stuff like that. I should have taken videos of this raccoon, but, like, I'd make noise and he'd kind of, like, sort of turn his head, but he wouldn't look directly at me. And it almost looked like his eyes were closed and stuff like that. So I was like, didn't make any sense. So I threw something over and he, like, turned his head to where that noise came from when the rock hit the ground. And I was like, yeah, there's something not right about this guy. And he, like, crawls up a tree and he's, like, holding onto this tree, like, trying to hide from me. He's just trying to survive. And, you know, some people might get upset about this, but I'm like, look, okay, so he either starves to death or some neighborhood dog is going to come along and rip this thing to shreds.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to die a fucking miserable death, you know, getting shredded. So I'm like, okay, real quick, I take him out.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was more humane than what he would have suffered, but what he would have suffered is nature.
Yeah.
You know,
Nature's so scary.
nothing dies of old age in nature.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
we're just lucky. We're just lucky that we're out of that vicious cycle.
Right. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I mean, people don't realize that, and it's kind of what I'm trying to transition towards.
It's one of the ways to virtue signal these days. It's like, you know, like these Olympics of white people calling out other white people. You know, no, you're racist. No, you're racist.
Yeah.
And their black friend is sitting there like, dude, guys, like, I was not even offended. Like, you guys, it's between the two of you. You know, it's like this competition. You know, it's like signaling virtue. It's not even so much that they care about issues of minorities, you know, or people who are oppressed, or you know, it's more about like, look at me, I'm against this. It's like, racism is bad. Like, make sure that everybody has cameras on.
I agree. Racism is bad.
But it's like, you know, it's pointless. They come out, they make these announcements. They're like, you know what, I'm so against it. It's like, I mean, the Young Turks. I mean, they've made their whole business on it. You know, it's their whole business model.
A lot of I've seen a lot of
spinning the facts.
Liberal mentality seems to be on the virtue.
I was really
not that I'm Republican, because I would hate to say that I'm Republican. I would say more constitutionalist.
Yeah, we need to be more Christian to be Republican.
Yeah.
We need to be more religious. You know, that's the one thing is, you know, because I'm on board with a lot of things on the conservative side, but it's, you know, I'm sorry, you gotta go with Christ, and I'm just, you know, I'm just going to independent path, and it's almost like you have to be a Christian, you know, to subscribe to.
Yeah, it's crazy, but so you came here with $200.
Mm-hmm.
You get this job at a hotel.
Yeah.
You took a bunch of shitty jobs.
Yeah.
How did you get your business?
Oh, just, you know, Discover Truck. Actually, I got.
Well, you were with Eric, and Eric kind of.
I was about to say, our mutual friend. You know, I got to the point where I bought a little trailer. I was doing hot shots. I was driving small trucks and hauling cars, and Eric had the truck, that Chevy that he was. And I was like, hey, let me buy a trailer. I'll use your truck, and I'll give you half of all the money every week. So he was getting like $700 a week from me, just, you know, working my ass off. And then the truck broke down, and he was just kind of half-assing, because, you know, he's got his main business. And that was the time when it kicked in. This trailer that I already bought is in the front yard. His truck is getting fixed, but he's not really rushing. And I was like, you know what, I cannot. And it's like, you know, he helped me a lot as well in the beginning. So but I realized, you know what, I should just do my own thing. And it's like, it's everything is my fault. Blame like, oh, like, that guy kind of,
And you say that with all sincerity.
yeah, everything, it is your fault. Even if somebody did you wrong, it's your fault. Like, fix it. It's what you do. Because guess what? It's wildlife. In a way.
So we got cut off. You started with $200, and
Yeah.
So you came here. You started out with a truck. You were doing car hauling. What'd you call them? Hot shots?
Hot shots, yeah. And then again, I was dependent on someone for their piece of equipment, and then I had enough. I kept like almost like begging people, some of my friends that had more stability and money, and like, come on, I'm so willing to work. Just give me the resources, and I will make you money. And I started doing successfully so, but it's just I realized that I'm not somebody else's priority, and I realized that I just have to make my own moves, and even make it harder. That will make it harder, but I have to, and that's like I said, when I sold that trailer that was sitting in the front yard, my friend's truck was broken down. He was in no rush to fix it, and it really pissed me off because it's like, dude, I'm making you clean money, just for you by using.
Well, not to mention it's holding you up because.
Yeah, exactly. But for him, he had the business and it was running well, so to him, it wasn't a big deal. But to me, I'm sitting there stressing out of money, and that trailer that I own is sitting in the front yard, just and I sold it. Yeah, went to that school, to Miami, where I could get my CDL faster. The Cuban school. Pay them the money. Rent the car, pay the money, passed it, and spent 6 months in the truck. Just living in the truck.
Yeah.
I still spend most of my life in the truck. I choose to, like my birthday, which is also Christmas. I actually chose to. I actually wanted. It was symbolic to me. I didn't have to, but I like the idea that when everybody's with their families in cozy homes, I was in a desert somewhere, I think in New Mexico, Skyping with my parents, just like, I actually chose to. Like now it's like I don't even have to do it, but I choose to. I like the idea of it, Or this Valentine's, I broke up with my yet another girlfriend, Well, I was caught in the blizzard, just trying not to die, and she was upset that I didn't give her flowers. It's like, yeah, but I don't blame women though. I don't blame them. I wouldn't date me, right now. Yeah, I wouldn't even get involved. I don't. That's why I don't blame when yet another one realizes that it's too hard. I don't blame him.
Yeah. What's weird though is you've had to work fucking hard. You saw my podcast with Tyler and Joseph. And we talked a little bit about marriage and all that kind of stuff during the podcast.
Yeah.
But you want a woman or a man that is willing to work through the hard times.
As hard as or even harder, and go through the struggle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's everybody, nobody, and that's not an issue with this ideology of equality of outcome, but it's everybody wants to have the same result. Well, not the same, but everybody wants to have sometimes your result, but they don't care about the work that you've put in. They just want to show up to, when the meal is prepared. Nobody wants to sweat in the kitchen, and help you and give you a hand. They just want to show up, when the table is set, and that's the problem. And people just feel like they're entitled.
Right.
Yeah,
and you definitely prepared your own meal.
Especially the ones that,
metaphorically speaking, to start.
And I love
company.
to cook too. Yeah. And I love to cook, so I literally.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your posts or whatever where you're like making your own seafood and stuff like that.
I'm a freak. Yeah, it's just I love it. I cook enough for like 5 people, and I just put on some Netflix, and I just eat.
At some point when you come through Montana, we'll have to link up and actually go fishing.
Oh God, it would be so.
Dude,
amazing.
There's so many places like every cast you catch a rainbow or you catch a brookie or a cutthroat or something like that. Best tasting in my mind, best tasting fish ever.
Just catching the wild fish. I mean, it's it's going back to the roots again. As a child we did it. It was little river fish. It was amazing. You go and you fry it. You do it on fire. You can steal some potatoes from a farm nearby. And it just like we would have like make fire and then the coals, and then we'd kind of throw coals over potato and kind of bake it that way, and then just peel the skin.
Man. I still
Just
do
dirty,
that like
yeah.
out in the
Really?
out in
Oh,
the
you do?
field. Well, not with potatoes because I don't bring potatoes with me. Way too heavy.
Yeah, heavy. Yeah.
But with fish and stuff like that, like I'll bring some tinfoil and stuff with me if I
Yeah.
know there's
Throw
a
it in.
stream or something close. I'll bring some tinfoil with me, and we'll cook fish.
Yeah.
Out in the field and do the exact same thing with the fish.
Yeah.
A little bit of olive oil. Like I'll bring like a little cooked spices
nice,
and stuff with me, and throw a little olive oil in there and stuff like that. And it's best tasting. Like
men need it. I think that's why men are so depressed. It's men.
So primal. And,
men that recession is usually followed by a series of suicides among especially like middle-aged men. Because
you need to read Tribal.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah. I know. That's my next book. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that is.
I'm sure
there's. Or Tribe. I'm sorry, not Tribal.
Yeah.
Tribe.
I heard on Rogan, and you mentioned a few times.
Great book. That's by far probably one of my favorite books. Great book.
See, we understand it. It's just people need, and that's why it's so popular. These little podcasts, it was just bros,
Yeah.
Bros just sitting there talking about bro stuff. You know, because that's what's missing in the culture. It's it's almost like you're guilty of being a man. You're guilty of wanting to be competent, successful, assertive. Showing alpha
watch that
traits.
Man talk stuff. You're gonna
Toxic masculinity. I was at the bar another night, and there was this girl, and we were talking, and I was and I'm like, actually I gave her a compliment, and she's like, okay, I'm sorry, you're showing microaggressions with your patriarchic view. I'm like, wait, whoa,
Did you watch that on YouTube, or did you come up with that all on your own?
Yeah, of course she came up with the terms. Of course she meant not. Probably learned it on campus or whatever. I'm like, oh, I should have known. You have purple hair. I should have known.
Yeah.
I should have known. Yeah, you have purple hair. Yeah.
All in all, though, you got a banging fucking body.
Yeah, but it's like, no wonder. Yeah, I can only imagine what her ex-boyfriend looked like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like probably like tight jeans, like skater a little.
Yeah, skinny jeans.
Yeah, skinny jeans. Yeah. Sup, dude? I don't care, man.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with people who smoke weed, but
me neither. Yeah.
As long as.
No, it's just like they go for a particular type. It's like, and that's what Jordan Peterson talks about a lot too. He says that women, and
they don't go for the alphas.
No, and that's a weird thing. And usually, like quite successful, well-off young women with a career, their own place, nice car, they choose this little project, for a short-term, some kind of, I guess, reward, the fact that they feel like they're on top. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, those are the same women that are unhappy. Because in the long run, nature.
Yeah. They can't.
It takes over. It just takes over, and a woman needs a man.
Yeah, I saw a post where they said that the draft. You're familiar with the draft, right? The military draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you guys have something. So you're probably required to.
I think.
Join.
Well, now I think. Oh yeah, actually, in fact. When like the civil war in Ukraine started, I think I was still on green card, so my parents told me like don't come back because they can take you straight from the airport, even though you have green card, you're still a citizen. It was a weird thing, but in high school, like here they have NROTC, they just teach you how to drill, but over there we had like actual military class in high school, like class where they teach you like war strategy, different
weapons.
Yeah, and they would actually, we would go on a field trip and we'll go to actual military base, and it's not like here where Mothers of America would sue you if you curse somebody out, even in the boot camp. Over there, it's like we would go to actual military base. We'd be like 16 years old, and the soldiers would like kick you in the chest. Like if you were like laughing or goofing around, they would teach us how to assemble and the AK-47s. They would actually have us throw real grenades, and just teenagers field trip, and it was not even like some kind of program or boot camp or nothing. It's just like something that every boy would have to do.
Yeah.
Like a mandatory class, but that was back then. It might have changed now.
Now
everything is
so much more civilized. And I got a buddy of mine. I'm actually going hunting with him in
sponsoring these two guys, going with them. They're from Fort Bliss, Texas. They're both in the Army, and he was talking about how he got an IG, Inspector General, complaint for basically smoking this guy. And when we say smoking, like making him do exercise, basically, and that's not allowed anymore. Like
you cannot curse, I told you, right?
Yeah,
you cannot even in Marines, like people who are supposed, like commandos that are supposed to protect us. You still have
some people that do it, but if somebody really wanted to push it, that's the overreaching
or
thing.
like the fact, remember I told you that they no longer do iron sights, they actually start with optics in the boot camp.
They don't, that's ridiculous.
They discontinue iron sights. So everything is just like, what else? What else? Give you like a little tube of lotion. What else? I mean, what else do you need?
You want to jerk off? Now you can keep your cell phone, I guess, in boot camp.
See, they already did that in Army, but I think that Marines were like still trying to remain the toughest, where they still separated males and females completely.
Yeah, when I went through in the Air Force, like we couldn't.
Oh, okay.
You put everything in a closet and
now it's just. You see, oh god, you see like actually a lot of these like Instagram models, like I don't even know. Back in the day, it actually used to be, I think, illegal. So like put out like somewhat like sexual pictures in their uniform with their actual name on it.
There's still people who get in trouble for that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like now you see these girls that are like posting, like their ass on a sink and whatever, and then the next picture is like she's actually in the uniform and her name on it and everything, insignia. She's like.
That's why a lot of the other branches like Air Force chicks, Air
Force
and Navy chicks. Yeah,
let me say, but these are the people that are supposed to protect us.
Yeah, wow. I mean, but man, there's so many different ways we can go with this whole conversation. But
I know.
But anyway, it's great that get to see like the actual American dream.
Oh, it exists. I don't care how skeptical people are. Like,
as long as if you work for what you want,
no excuses.
And you're okay with taking a couple kicks in the teeth, and you keep going out, out, you can get there, and you're proof of that. So it's good that people see that, and. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
You gotta smell the blood, and literally, I did amateur boxing when I was a teenager, and again, it was no lawsuits like here. So we would like now even sparring, they avoid head like when they do most of martial arts.
They don't want to get punchy. And stuff like that now they're a lot more familiar with TBI and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, my nose was broken so many times before I even turned 15, and our coach was like old school boxer. From like rough area in Ukraine.
My dad was that way too.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, so like badass, and we would be he would like make us beat the hell out of each other, and then he would be like, "Hey, Lypchanskiy," like called me by last name. Get your ass over here. Takes my shirt, like have to be tucked in, and my face is busted. And he would like just pull it out and wipe my face because he's like, you fucking nasty creature. He would like actually like wipe my own face with my shirt, like tuck it back in. He's like, get your ass back in the ring,
Yeah.
Like, just like wipe my blood because I was too bloody, like I couldn't even see. He would wipe it, and I think I was like 14 or something. And literally, it would be a war. Like it would be just kids just destroying each other every day. Every day after school, that would be the stuff that we would do. Just go home, change, grab all the gear and, go to the gym. And it's crazy, but he always said, remember the smell, the smell of, it's like a curse word, pizdulina, it's like a punch in the face, but it's like a curse word. So he's like, always remember that sharpness, that like when you get hit, like, and you can like smell it in your nose, especially if your nose is busted. It's like the adrenaline, that rush, and smell of blood, like when you got punched in the face. And it's almost like it's very sobering, it's it's really, and it keeps you on your toes. It's like that's when you realize, oh it's real, keeps you alert. And that a lot of these kids these days, they've never been punched in the face. They make safe spaces because words hurt, I mean,
yeah. Oh, the words don't hurt nearly as much as a fist.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, and that's what you have to go through in order to, and if metaphorically a punch in the face,
yeah,
to get to where you want to be.
mm-hmm.
If you just want to live in a small house in the middle of, not that, a big house is a symbolization
Mm-hmm.
of status or anything, but if you just want to live in a rundown small house, and not be whatever your term of success is, then cool.
Yeah.
Don't deal with the pain and the agony and stuff like that of having to get to where you want to go, because I promise you it sucks to get punched in the face. But you take a few licks to the face and all of a sudden, it's not
suffering.
so bad.
You have to embrace suffering. Like, again, going back to Jordan Peterson, because he talks about that a lot in his lectures. Suffering, like, you have to understand that people have to understand it will hurt. It will hurt, and you will suffer. And the only way to appreciate peace and a little bit of sunshine on your face, after, it's after you go through a shitstorm, in life, and then you value the little good things here and there.
Yeah.
Because if you're sheltered from everything bad, again, you become, as he said, dull and stupid. If they protect you from sharp objects, you become dull and stupid.
Yeah.
You cannot be sheltered from it. You have to embrace the suffering. I mean, suffering, it's good. There's a lot of unnecessary suffering, so we should reduce that. But you have to. I mean, there's no gain without pain.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you on, man. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and it'll keep you up to date with future episodes. Also, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, anywhere else you can find podcasts. Thank you for joining the show.